what is covered in our Nature Connected Coaching program. And our Nature Connected Coaching program has 5 intensives that you are required to attend either in person or online with us. And our first intensive, which is called Foundations, is an 8-day long intensive where if you're in person, it's a full 8 days all in a row. If you are doing the program with us online, then we do it in 2 4-day chunks. And the Foundations intensive is where we really cover the coaching flow and ceremony within Nature Connected Coaching that we teach our students, as well as a good portion of the nature awareness and nature connection tools that we teach our students that really allow them to bring a unique style of coaching into their work. And then after that first intensive, the Foundations, we have 4 more intensives that we call the Toolbox modules. And the Toolbox modules are 5 days long, going from Monday to Friday. And I want to show and share with you here a little bit about what is covered in those Toolbox modules. And so, for example, our first Toolbox module, after you do Foundations with us, we cover Gestalt and parts work, where we do 2 days of Gestalt, Monday and Tuesday, and that is taught by a Gestalt therapist here in Colorado that's been doing Gestalt therapy for several decades, and so he's very well versed in Gestalt therapy. And it's not that we're teaching you as a student to become a Gestalt therapist, but really understanding how Gestalt and what Gestalt looks like and means inside of really bringing in some deep listening skills and awareness skills as a coach with your client. And then after that, we dive into parts work, which is covered over the Wednesday and Thursday of the intensive. And we dive into the first module of 2 inside of parts work and how to really start to see ourselves not just as linear human beings, but as multifaceted people that we show up differently in every part of our life, and starting to become aware of what part of me is showing up here and what part of me is speaking in this part of my life, for example. And then with every one of the intensives, the last day, that Friday, is where we do practice sessions, or what we call fish bowls, where everybody has a chance to be coach and client and observed by your classmates as well as one of us on staff to give you some vital and helpful feedback on what went well during your coaching session, and also some areas of improvement that you can work on as well to really help nurture and empower your coaching skills, and not just learning the theory of Gestalt and the theory of parts work, but putting those principles into practice while you're here with us, because we really believe that the best way to learn is through experiential learning. And then after that, we have Brain and Change 1, as well as working with trauma for that second module. And this is where we get, once again, we have 2 days of Brain and Change, and then 2 days of working with trauma. And we bring in a professional somatic trauma therapist that has been doing this work for a long time, that instructs and teaches that portion of the course as well. And then once again, that last day is your chance to integrate and practice coaching with these new tools you've learned. The third toolbox is Brain and Change 2, which we dive into some deeper awarenesses and concepts about how transformation and change really starts within the mind, within the brain, and what that looks like, and how our brains work, some neurobiology and plasticity, and some other topics that we cover in that help you as a coach not just have some skills and tools to use to transform the mind, but also to create awareness for yourself and your client around what's really going on, between those ears of ours, when we're starting to really step in to our lives and our vision with greater clarity and purpose. And then with that we have guiding through grief as the second part, and that is also taught by a professional grief therapist who instructs those 2 days of diving into grief and loss and how to hold space with somebody when they start to maybe experience or reflect on some grief that's happened in their life. And then the last intensive, we cover long-term coaching in parts work 2. And this is long-term coaching is where we start to dive into what would it look like to go on a journey with your client, and what would be the topics and areas that you'd want to cover in your coaching practice that you really dive into with each client. So it's not just, having one session with somebody, but going on a powerful journey of transformation with them over time, because as you probably know, transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to really step into this new vision, this new person you're becoming, to step in with greater joy and happiness and peace in your life, for example. And then we dive into parts work 2 again, where it's some really deep, powerful, transformational work of doing parts work with your client and how to facilitate parts work, and also how to bring nature into a parts work session as well with your client, to bring that extra element of nature connection and nature awareness within a parts work session. So those are the modules that we cover. There's a whole lot of other information that we cover inside that, but that kind of gives you an idea of the topics that we really focus on here in our coaching program, and bringing in the things such as Gestalt, trauma, and grief are some other pieces that really separate us from most other coaching schools and platforms, where most schools will teach about, brain and change, maybe long-term coaching, identifying goals, but never really kind of talk about, what comes up when the client starts to maybe break contact with their vision, or as their past starts to influence their present, their future, and how to really create a new vision around that, and how to be with that so that they don't get stuck there, but know how to move through that and know how to practice that for yourself as well.